it felt like first degree burn. I mean, I can
Yeah.
only imagine that's probably similar to the feeling of the pain that I had and what I was experiencing. And I had no clue what was happening, but it was a full body reaction at that point. And I just knew that my eczema had never felt like that in
Yes.
my life. I think that we're part of history because
Yes.
I can promise you, even in 5 and 10 years, TSW is going to be known and is going to be considered a real condition, and people
Yes.
are going to know.
Welcome to the Skin Deep Podcast, everyone. This is your go-to source for everything skin health and self-care. And again, I am your host, Makisha Banks, and we're going to be going into a really amazing conversation that I've been looking forward to. When it comes to eczema and dermatitis, we definitely want to have more voices out there. And today, my special guest is Chiquanna. I'm so excited to have you on, Chiquanna. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Me too, me too.
Yeah.
I've been going on social media and just taking a look at a lot of different people because I've been noticing there's a lot more people coming up when it comes to eczema and sharing their story. And I found you, and it was by accident. I don't even know how I did, but when I found you, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I love their story and the fact that you're telling people so much about, your life and what you do and your experience. So, tell me, how did you really start? Like, when did you even get eczema? How did that happen?
So I've lived with eczema my entire life. Like I was diagnosed as a young child. I don't really know exactly what age, but I was really young.
Okay.
And I've like just known a life with eczema, and it's just like just been always a part of me. It was a very rough childhood for me because I couldn't do a lot of things like going camping or going to the
Yes.
pool or, playing outside. I was a very adventurous, curious kid. I would love to be outside, but the pollen and, just
Mm.
everything would just trigger my eczema. And I was like the only person in my family that was dealing with it that severely.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, I felt like I wanted to live in a bubble because when I tried to play or I tried to do things, even school, I couldn't stay in school for too long. Like I
Mhm.
failed grades third, fourth, and fifth because I just missed so many days of school because I would either go to school and leave early because I couldn't concentrate. I was like itching so bad, or I just couldn't make it.
I'm
Um,
so sorry to hear that. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
so it definitely disrupted my childhood a lot.
Mhm.
And I got on medication in middle and high school. It got better, but then when I hit my 30s, everything changed, and then I started just kind of blogging about that experience online.
I'm so like it's crazy because like when I sit there and think about my childhood too, there's been a lot of days that it impacted me as well, and it's crazy how so many of us have that same kind of connected, experience or memory of our childhood is that, we see all these other people playing and everything and you're just like how come I can't do that? Like
Yeah,
what's wrong with me
what's
where
wrong? Yeah,
yeah, and you're
I
just
would feel
sitting
that a
there.
lot. Like I would feel that a lot. And as a child, you don't know what's normal and what's not,
Mhm.
but like in retrospect, like really thinking about how I my childhood was, I'm just like,
Mhm.
wow, like that was very just disruptive. And it was
Yes.
very depressing, for me because I just could not do the things that I wanted to do. And I would always wonder like, why me? Like I remember thinking like I wish I could just get like a skin transplant. Like, there's no way the doctors can just like take my skin off and put new skin on.
Yes. And it's true, like, when you think of it as being a child, we're supposed to be these innocent, carefree children and not have to sit there and think about things that are very dramatic, traumatic, or, hurtful to us. And when we see that we are outside of the crew of people, we're not able to play with other people, you genuinely are just like, I have a problem. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And how did that play on like your mental health at that time? Do you remember?
Well, I remember just feeling isolated a lot. Like I remember just even family functions. Like I would go to
Mm,
Christmas or holidays or cookouts, and you know, the at the time, I don't think my mom really knew that I was highly allergic to a lot of environmental factors. So even like the
yes.
carpet at my grandmother's house or going to
Mm-hmm.
different places,
Yeah.
and I would have to leave. Like my eyes would, become red and irritable, and I would
Mm-hmm.
start scratching, and it was just always disruptive. So I think in my childhood, I really felt like I was a burden to my family. My
Oh,
mom had to, leave work earlier, had a lot of doctor's appointments, or,
yes.
if we went to family get togethers, I'd have to leave because Chiquanna's breaking out again, So
Mm.
I really think that I took on the idea of me being a burden to the family. And it really,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was hard, it was hard to navigate that as a child and also not having anyone else around me going through that experience.
Yeah, and I think I can relate to that too. Like I was the only one in my family that was dealing with eczema. So it's just like there wasn't someone where I could say, "Hey, how did you deal with it?" or
Yeah.
"What did
Yeah.
you do?" or "Oh, so you have it because of this, this and this reason." There's like
Yeah.
no resources. It's mainly just sitting there kind of thinking like there's something wrong with it. Like you were this child that was born with deficiencies or some issues, right?
Yeah.
Dang.
Very true.
Now, did you always live in a warm climate? Because I'm kind of curious to know what was the trigger or what kind of made you have this issue. Were you able to kind of figure that out? Like, what was the issue in the beginning?
No, I grew up in North Carolina, and I grew up
Mm,
pretty much in the country. So I wasn't in the city. I wasn't, I was really around fields and
yeah.
grass and
Mm,
hay, and so um I just think that there was a lot of environmental factors. I
yeah.
don't, we moved around a lot. I'm sure that the houses that I was in, some of them probably had mold. To the
Yeah.
foods that I was eating Holt's milk, and you know, all the things that like I don't really eat now.
Hmm.
And I think that, I didn't grow up well off. So there was a lot of stress in my family financially, a lot of like heavy stress on my mom and my stepdad at the time. So I just think that a lot of the environmental factors that I was in played a lot into how severe my skin was. And also, my mom just didn't know a lot. She didn't
Yes.
know. It was really just her trying to figure it out. Didn't know what to do, how to do it. She
Yeah.
just knew how to make a doctor's appointment, and, like, okay, why is my daughter feeling like this? Why isn't this working? We can't, find relief for her. What can we do?
Hmm.
Just really desperate to find help and some relief. So I just think that I grew up in a situation that a lot was unknown how to take care and treat my condition.
Yeah. And it's kind of unfortunate too because even in Canada we have all these four seasons, right? And don't get me wrong, I love all the four seasons, but I feel like sometimes it was just because we would fluctuate from really cold to hot to warm to this and so forth, that played a part in my own, childhood growing up with the different seasons. And then that's why I figured, oh my God, I had this mentality when I was growing up. Like, if I was just in a steady one temperature country, it would just be so much easier. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking that, if you were in a warm country all the time, oh my God, you're blessed. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Like the hot heat is good because at least, your skin's sweating, it's getting rid of the
Yeah.
toxins. But for you, you're saying, yeah, like because of those other environmental factors
Yeah.
that come with the warm weather, it actually didn't do any better.
Yeah, North Carolina has four seasons as well. So it was in the
Okay, yes.
summers, it was extremely hot.
Mm,
Spring, I mean, it's beautiful there. It's
yes.
really, you really truthfully feel every season.
Mm-hmm.
Winters, cold, snow, hail sometimes,
Yes.
and fall, windy, chilly. So I went through all the seasons growing up. Now I
Mm.
do live in Florida, and
Okay.
I prefer to chase the sun.
Yes.
It works very well for me over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I do not do the cold weather. I cannot do the cold weather. I
Oh
know it's
gosh.
opposite for some people, but for
Mhm.
where I'm at in my journey and my skin, like my skin
Yes.
can handle the humidity, my skin can handle the sun. I
Mhm.
I prefer to be in warm weather year
I
round.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I think it's just like me. I'm scared for one to move to just a different country in some ways, but I'm not too scared. I'm just still kind of getting over some of the humps of it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with my skin enjoying the warmth much better. Like I feel like my skin enjoys it, but like you said too, there's some people that don't actually agree with just having the
Yeah.
warm
And
weather. They like
and
spring or fall.
they, yeah, and I think that goes to say, how like individualized this condition
Mhm.
is, because
Yeah.
my skin does well in this weather, and I have some friends who came to Orlando and their skin was not okay.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and they were just like, the humidity is too much, it's too
Mhm.
hot, getting heat rashes, even more
Yes.
inflamed. So
Yes.
I think that it's really important to like understand what works for you. And for me, this works, but it may not work for the next person.
Mhm. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Now, while you were, growing up, did any of your physicians or doctors have good advice or explanations? Were they even able to kind of give you the right path before they gave you those steroid creams? Like, did you find any kind of substance from the doctors at all?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 1990, so I grew up in the 90s as a kid. And obviously, the conversation around eczema and skin condition, especially in women of color, was
Mm-hmm.
just not there. The advocacy
Yes.
was just not there like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it was not there, unfortunately. And I do not bash or blame the medical
Yes.
system. I definitely think that it is needed and necessary. Um,
Absolutely.
but for me, there was not a lot of conversation outside of, okay, let's get her to find some relief. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's necessarily their fault, because I
Mm-hmm.
say all the time, you are part of your treatment plan. You're a part of your treatment care team.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
my mom and I were coming into the office
Mm-hmm.
desperate all
Yeah.
the time. So,
Yeah.
when you have that energy, they're just like, okay, let's just do what we need to do. She's obviously
Mm-hmm.
suffering. She's obviously in pain. The mom doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So there's, two sides to this. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a lot of conversation outside of, okay, this is the steroids that we can put her on. Obviously, there were things that we tried to do before I got on the steroid, which was like
Yeah.
wet wrapping and
Mm-hmm.
um I think I did protopic a little bit before I got on the triamcinolone, but
Mm-hmm.
there were other things that, were suggested that just did not work for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so then I got on the steroids, which I think were helpful. I think for
Mm-hmm.
someone like me who had
Yeah.
severe eczema at such a young age, like my skin was really bad. Like my
Mm-hmm.
neck was like flaking and open and oozing like
Yes.
90% of the year,
Yeah.
and in the creases, and so, and especially my eyes. So I think for my quality of life, for my childhood, for me to just experience life, I think it was needed, at that
Yeah.
point. It really helped me, especially when I got to middle school, to be a little bit more social, to not be in so much pain, to
Mm-hmm.
not be so limited with things that I could do and activities that I was involved in. um, so it helped me through my adolescence, absolutely.
Yeah.
But there was not any conversation outside of like, okay, what's the next plan of action?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to, how can we, gradually maybe decrease your use? Or
Yeah.
I was repeatedly going to the doctor, the ER, CVS. I was going, it
Yeah.
was like an addict. Like, I'm out, my prescription's out, I need it. My
Yeah.
prescription's out, I need it. My prescription's out. I need it.
It's so crazy that that's everyone's journey. I think and I do agree with you, and I never want people to feel like, we are against doctors, physicians, or the medical,
No.
industry. It's more so the fact that they have a lack of knowledge, a lack of training and education about steroids and how to properly administer them. It's
Yeah.
about making sure that, okay, we're doing it temporarily to relieve you of the symptoms, but
Mhm.
this is the right steps of you to actually get rid of this
Get
or
rid of this.
eradicate it
Yeah.
from the root, right?
Yeah. And
But
it wasn't like my skin was getting better. There
yes.
wasn't a pattern of symptoms that were getting better. Like it was
Hmm.
actually getting worse and
Yes.
worse and worse and worse and worse. The years continued of me just continuously needing this medication. So it was all in my history. It was all in my medical records, that
Hmm.
my
Yeah.
doctor visits, my prescriptions, my ER visits,
Yes.
where my skin was flaring, how bad it
Hmm.
was. It just progressively got worse. And I think that's also a conversation now that I've become an advocate and I've talked to medical professionals. That's something
Hmm.
that they look out for with medicine. If this medication is not working,
Yeah.
if the pattern's not getting better, then we need to have a different conversation. So that
Hmm.
conversation was never had with me.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's that the when you're looking at the steroids, most of them are not doing anything in terms of making it better. They might just subside a symptom just a
Yeah.
little bit, and then that's the thing. It's that same consistent rat race that I even went through myself. It's like, oh my god, I'm getting close to the bottom of the jar. I'm freaking out because I'm
Freaking out. Freaking out.
I know in 2 days if I'm done that joint, I'm gonna go mental. So I have to
I'm
make
going
sure
to
I
go
go and get
mental.
exactly.
Literally. Literally.
Yeah.
I would travel with it.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
knew that I was going somewhere to someone's house, like if I did not have that tube, I
Yes.
really would freak out.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the sad part is that we become mentally reliant on it and it affects our mental health that we already know when we're getting close to the end of the bottle, we need to make sure we already have another backup one just
Yeah.
in case, like ready to rip off. If we're going anywhere, we're like, okay, do I have my backup one?
Do I
One in my
have my
purse and
yep?
one
Yep.
in my suitcase. So I'm making sure that if I
Yeah.
somehow lose one, I have the other. And that's the unfortunate part is that we're all reliant on these, but there's not, like you said, that conversation of, okay, let's move you. We need to get you on a plan or a
Yeah.
process or a procedure or protocol that's allowing you to go from like using it less, but we're fixing and understanding
But
what's
we're
going
yeah.
on inside the body so we're not having to rely on it and we know
Yeah.
how to move you through to that healing stage.
Yeah.
Instead, it's more so like, okay, you need another prescription. Like I remember my doctor gave me 10 refills on one. He was like, don't even worry about coming back and seeing me,
Don't
girl.
worry about coming.
Just,
Yeah, I had like refills for like a year, and then when I would get
yeah.
done with it, I would be like, "Up, need more." And I'm talking about the big two,
Like you
the
think we're
big
weird,
two.
right? Like that's where I sit there and I wonder to myself, like, can you imagine looking on the outside in at us where we're just like slathering it all over our
Yeah.
body and we're like, don't listen, I need my tube, I need my freaking jar, don't mess with me.
Don't mess with
You know,
me.
like
But
I
I thought it was normal. I
yeah.
never
Yeah.
ever until I didn't, until
Yes.
something happened and I was like,
Yeah.
this ain't right. But I thought it
Yeah.
was normal. I
Yes.
really never second guessed. I never
Hmm.
thought
Yes.
until I was 29. I never thought that I shouldn't be on this medication for this long, using it this
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. There's at a certain point you never knew. You never knew there was nothing, it wasn't normal. We
It
never
wasn't the answer
knew.
also. Like I just thought
Yeah.
like, okay, I have like almost like I have to use this cream. Like that's the only
Mhm.
way
Yes.
that I'm going to have normal like skin relief is
Yes.
if I use this
Yes.
cream. That I think that was just kind of like my train of thought.
Mhm.
And when I ended my bottle and I was in Bangkok in 2019, and
Mhm.
obviously like I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to the doctor here
Yes.
and I don't know that system. So let me just try not to use it. And at that
Mhm.
point, I was like, wow, I've been on this for like 20 years, I probably should take a break. Literally, that's all I thought. Like, I should just take
Absolutely.
a break.
Yeah. And then what happened after that?
And then my world went upside down, right, left,
Yeah.
and around.
Hmm.
And then, I didn't think anything of it. I was in Bangkok, so I was able to, afford an herbalist and, different
Mm.
creams and different natural modalities and remedies there, which were okay. But
Mm.
then my skin just really started to unfold, and
Mm.
it just got really, really bad. And I
Yeah.
was on a contract in Bangkok, so I only had a month left. So
Hmm.
I did my month there without the medication, and the skin, like underneath my knees, were like full, like they were almost like swollen and like folded over each other.
Oh
And I
God.
just remember, and then my inner thighs, and I just remember being like, oh wow, my skin really needs relief and it really needs some release. So I kept like trying with the herbalist, and she gave me
Hmm.
like a natural oil that she had put together for my skin. And then I
Hmm.
flew back to Florida. Because my contract was over, I flew back here. I had a welcome home party with all my friends, had a great time. And
Yeah.
then the next day, in April of 2019, literally the next day, after my welcome home party, my skin exploded. It was discolored.
Yeah.
It was almost like I was seeing it happen in real time. So
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
seeing, like my skin open and become red and just thin. It was
Hmm.
really thin. Like it was almost like I did not have a top layer.
Yes. Yes.
And it became like some parts of my leg was like almost whitish, and the
Hmm.
other parts of my leg were brownish.
Hmm.
And it felt like first degree burn. I mean, I can
Yeah.
only imagine that's probably similar to the feeling of the pain that I had and what I was experiencing. And I had no
Hmm.
clue what was happening, but it was a full body reaction at that point. And I just
Hmm.
knew that my eczema had never felt like that in
Yes.
my life.
Yeah.
Like I've had this condition my whole life, and I know like I had patterns. My eczema would come at the folds, my
Yes.
knees, my neck, and my eyes, but
Yeah.
never something like a full body situation where it's burning and it's stinging and I feel like
Hmm.
naked, like I
Yeah.
just didn't feel like a protective shield. So
Yes.
I just was like, something is off. Like something's really, really wrong with me. Like this is not normal.
Yeah.
Um and I did not go to the doctor at all. I remember I was following one girl who was talking about something with her skin,
Hmm.
and I just, in that moment, I was like, let me go see what her page is about. And then that led me to topical steroid withdrawal, which led me to doing my own investigations and research. And then when I saw elephant skin, because I was dealing with elephant skin on my knees, where the skin is folded on
Yes.
top of the knees.
Yes.
And when I saw a picture, like visually saw a picture of that, that's when I was able to like 100% for myself confirm this is what I'm going through, because a month ago I stopped using my medication.
Yeah.
And now, and it took about a month for it to get to that point. So
Hmm.
it just all made sense for me.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem too, is when they don't know what's going on because there wasn't really any announcement of this is what's going to happen when
No,
you stop taking your
no.
your topicals, and then all of a sudden, yeah, your skin blows up, and that's the same thing that happened to me. Like I was like perfectly fine. I was like, I don't need this. My skin's amazing. I don't need my creams anymore. And I think because I was in a point in my time where I was eating a little bit better. Things were different, but it was unconscious. It was more so just because I was just doing it for myself. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let me just stop using the creams because I don't need it. I'm not flaring up. And then it was like, boom, like all of a sudden it just like came crashing in. And I'm like, okay, this is not what I'm used to. What the hell is going on? And that's when it's the same idea. I did that research and I started to find out what TSW was and how it's affecting everyone around the world. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I can't even. I can't even like imagine
Imagine.
what other people are feeling, because I am on fire. I'm on fire, and I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm the only one. And then when I started looking around and seeing the, research and all of these other people around the world, I'm like, yeah, we have a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that for me it's been such an amazing journey. Found out in 2019 and it was still like searching the dark web for TSW.
Yeah.
And so like just now to see how it's grown and how much the advocacy is working and spreading, and people are more and more comfortable with coming online and speaking their
Hmm.
truth in their journey, regardless, of how you came here. We
Yes.
all have come here in different paths, but
Hmm.
that it's really crazy how community has really like has made so many waves, because in 2019 for me it wasn't a lot of information like
Yeah,
this.
I almost feel like it was like a collective awakening. You know what
It
I mean? It
was.
was like everyone woke up at the same time and said, there is something wrong here. Why are we all getting these symptoms? And why have I been taking this medication for my
Right.
entire life? It was
Like
like a
this
whole
doesn't make
collect.
sense.
Yeah, like everyone woke up at the same time, and they were like,
Yeah.
and that's when it's like, it's true, because even when I was growing up, and when I was making Everbella products, like I wasn't thinking about, other people. It was just really for myself, and trying to heal my own skin and give myself something better to use, but I still was using the topicals at the
The
same
topicals.
time.
Yeah.
So when I eventually stopped using it, my skin blew up, but there was nothing online. There was nothing. There was hardly anything talked about in terms of products and prescriptions and
Yeah.
all of that. So I kind of just had to figure it out and read research papers and
Yes.
figure it out that way.
That way.
So
Yeah.
when I realized now, after it was maybe about 7 years later now, when I'm seeing everyone blowing up, I'm like, thank gosh. Like, I thought I was the only one. I
Yeah.
thought I was
No.
the only one. So when
No,
I'm
and
seeing it,
I
mm-hmm.
think that it says a lot in the medical field, because
Yes,
now, like I was born in 1990, now we're hitting, the 30-year mark of steroids and
yes,
steroids use and really seeing the
mm-hmm.
adverse reactions to it. So
Yes,
unfortunately, we have to be the founding fathers here because
yes,
it took that long to
yeah,
realize like, oh shoot, this
mm-hmm.
this is, and I think that we're part of history, because
Yes,
I can promise you, even in 5 and 10 years, TSW is going to be known. It is going to be considered a real condition, and people
yes.
are going to know. But we had to kind of,
Go
bear
through the
that,
pain.
go through the pain,
Yeah,
and kind of be the test dummies to see
yes.
like,
Yeah, like we're kind of like you're saying, we are the grandfathers of it in some ways, but we're
yeah,
we're also the ones that are releasing people from it and shedding the light on it, because it's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
I still don't believe that there's a lot of doctors that believe that there's an issue.
Yeah,
I think a
yeah.
lot of them are still in the dark. I
And that's the
remember,
concern.
yeah, because because I am a medical esthetician, so I've been working at different clinics and working with different doctors and so forth. And there's some doctors that are still like in the dark. They still are like, no, you still need the steroid, you still need this, and I'm like, no, they don't. Like, we don't need it. They need other care. They need other, prescriptions or different things that
Yeah,
are going to help them. Like, you're not getting it in, and I just feel like
yeah,
there's a lot of doctors that are still in the dark, and I think it's ignorance more than it is like because they want to know, and on top of it they don't want to take the responsibility of like what
right.
they're doing. So it's
What
just
they're doing. Yeah.
it's really sad. So now, with that being said, like, how, like, I know, like you said, you finished that contract in Bangkok, so you weren't able to work after that. Like, tell me about how it affected your job later on.
Well, I was in my professional dancer career and
Mm-hmm.
model. So I was 100%. I was traveling the world
Yeah.
dancing. I had lived in Shanghai, I had lived in Morocco, and then I was living in Bangkok as a dancer. And I would get these dance contracts, and I would go to different countries and perform.
Mhm.
So when I got back from Bangkok, my next contract was in Croatia. Um,
Mm.
and I just, after doing my own research, after figuring out that I was actively going through TSW, and maybe 2 or 3 months in, kind of like really seeing how it was affecting my health, my mobility, my energy levels. I was extremely fatigued. My adrenal glands stopped working. I couldn't sweat. I
Oh
couldn't move.
shoot.
I really couldn't walk.
Mhm.
Um, so it really affected my life. It was, 100% affected my career. I could not be on camera or do anything super physical. Around the 9 month mark, I tried to do a music video with Akon and Becky G, and we
Mhm.
were dancing outside in heels, and I was so embarrassed because I couldn't
Yeah.
remember the choreo. My skin was on fire under the heels because we're outside,
Yeah.
and we just had to continue to do different takes, and it was easy choreo. It wasn't
Mhm.
like this was,
Yeah.
this was a really easy choreo, and it was just such a horrible experience for me.
Mhm.
And I was trying to push myself to do it, but I realized that in that moment, after that music video, I realized that I was either, I had a decision to make. I was either going to figure out what medication to use,
Mhm.
or to, like, truly heal naturally. And for me, and I canceled my contract to Croatia because I was like, there's no way. When you're a dancer, you have
Yeah.
a very tough, tedious schedule.
Mhm.
Rehearsals, you're not sleeping, you're constantly moving your body. It's just rough. It's not like, it's not the soft life. I
Yeah,
don't mean,
yeah. And you're
it's,
doing something that's relying on your body to be flexible
yes,
and
yeah,
very
yeah,
pliable, if you want to call it.
yeah.
And right now you're like, my skin is tight and it's irritated and
It's
it's
it would,
inflamed. I can't.
it would not. There was just no way that I would be able to do that level of physical work
Mhm.
and go through TSW.
Yes,
So I
yes.
just decided to call off everything. No more auditions, no more music videos, no more dance contracts. I really felt a calling to put my health first
Yes.
and completely withdraw from the steroids that I had used. I didn't
Mhm.
know how long it was going to take. I didn't know what, I mean, I know that some people that I was following in the community lost their hair,
Yeah.
like it didn't really get super bad on my face, but I didn't know,
To
what was going to
expect.
come, to,
Yeah.
yeah, what to expect. I had no clue. But I just made the decision to kind of pull out of that and put my health first. And
Yeah.
that's been a really hard decision. And I think I advocate a lot online, especially for artists who go
Yeah.
through TSW, because it's a sacrificial decision to make.
Mhm.
Um, and it's, it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Of
And
course.
it's really, really tough. And over the years, I'm 6 years in now, so I'm doing and feeling much better. But 6 years is a long time. It's a
I
long
was going to
time.
ask you, yeah, how did you get through the TSW? What were the practices and the rituals that you did for it?
Um, this is so interesting. I try to figure this out myself as well.
Yeah. Sometimes
I
you're just
did,
like, I don't know what I did. I just put something on. I don't know what I'm
yeah.
eating. I'm just eating. I'm just trying to
I
get
went,
through it.
I really think I went super tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
went deep inside, and
Mhm.
I really like fought this like a war, I feel like. And I did no moisture treatment for 8 months, 8 or 9 months,
Ooh,
my
wow.
first year,
Mhm.
which was really helpful. And again, I know that that doesn't work for everyone, but
Yes.
for me, NMT was extremely helpful to dry out my skin and to
Mhm.
really pivot my skin in the healing process. Um, so I did no moisture treatment. That was one of the only modalities that I really did use. that I felt that helped me a lot. And I was living with my ex at the time, so I didn't have to work. I didn't have kids, so I had the time to like really follow the protocol every
Yeah.
day. It's
Yeah.
extremely difficult protocol. It's extremely, strict. And I know not everyone has that availability, So I
Yeah.
always like to say that I did in NMT, but I also didn't have a lot of responsibilities when I did it. Um, and then after 9 months, TSW, obviously changed a lot in my relationship as well. So that relationship ended, and I had to figure out what I was going to do, how I was
Next.
going to work. And so that's when I started doing, advocating and sharing my story online, and really growing a presence online and using my platform. It was a pivot, it was like a transition. People are
Yeah.
used to me dancing and modeling and living here and living there. And it's like, what is she
Yeah.
talking about, her skin,
Yeah. I completely agree. I know exactly what you mean.
So I'm still trying to make that distinguish, like I am, this is, this is a part of my life. This has been a huge part of my life, and my journey. And the things that have helped me the most are meditation, yoga, and slowing down. And
Yeah.
I know that sounds really cliche, but I pulled myself out of a lot. Um, and I stopped. And I'm
Yes.
not saying I stopped for 3 months, I stopped for a good 4 years
Yeah. Yeah.
and just focused on my health.
Yes. Yeah.
And while that has been an extremely hard decision to make, and sometimes I'm like, was that the best decision to make? I knew that I did not want to be dependent on anything.
Yes.
I didn't want to
Absolutely.
depend on nothing,
Yeah.
So for me, I just figured out, if there were so many days where all I had was just enough to pay the rent,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, I left a totally different career.
I know.
Um, So I made a lot of sacrifices, I would say. I made a lot of sacrifices, and I really did a deep dive into the connection between the spirit, the skin, the mind, the body. And for me, that has been my my path to feeling so much better now. um and it's 6 years, like this
Yeah.
year, every year I can see my skin getting stronger. Every year I see less and less flares. I'm not flare free, but every single year they become more manageable. And they become less, throughout the
Yeah.
year. So it's really been a journey of lifestyle change. There's certain foods that I don't eat, but that changes often too,
Yeah.
because like 2 years ago I could eat tomatoes and red sauce, but now I can't. So, I
Yeah.
just really, I really,
I know that feeling when you look at a pasta, you're like, man, frig, I would just love to
I
taste that
try
right now.
to, yeah, so I try to be very, just, cautious about food and what I'm eating. And if I have a
Yeah.
flare, did I eat something different, or what did I eat? Just kind of tracking my food. I like to like not, as much as I can, not be stressed,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
if I'm in a stressful environment, if I'm around stressful people, I can't do it. I have to remove myself. And when my body tells me to stop, I stop.
Yeah.
And I used to feel guilty. I used to feel lazy because I came from such a background of just hustle and bustle on it all
Yeah.
day, every day.
Yeah.
And when I say I stopped for 4 years, I was in this apartment, sometimes on the floor in fetal position.
Yeah.
There's been many days that I didn't leave my house, that I, didn't, if I could not do it, I did not do it. I
Yeah.
did not, and I rest, and I gave my body the time to recover.
Yeah.
Um, and trial and error. But I didn't take any other medication after I stopped. I didn't get on any type of prescription or anything else. Um, I just, tried to make sure that I wasn't depending on anything.
Well, first and foremost, I'm so proud of you. Like, I
Thank you.
feel there's a lot a sacrifice that people have to make. And I
Yeah.
feel the one problem when it comes to people that have eczema, they're afraid to make that sacrifice. They're afraid to make that decision. It's like life or death. It's one of the two. It's either we do this or we don't do it. And I feel like there's a lot of people that still want to hold on to their old life and their old
Yeah.
things that they do, but still have a new life with a new
Yeah.
skin. And it
Hmm.
can't be. The body's demanding of
Yeah.
something different. And the fact that you
Yeah.
made that decision is amazing, because a lot of people can't make that decision, and that's why they go through these cycles of the rat race with eczema, because they just can't stop. They can't,
Yeah.
tell themselves that, okay, if I do this, I'm going to overcome this, and I'll see on the other side of this a better version of me that's more free, that's able to do things, versus it's like, well, I still want to hold on to my old life. I still want to do these old things that I do, but I want this though at the same time. It's like it's a 50-50. It's either you're doing it, you don't do it, or you do 100%.
Yeah. I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean to cry, but it's been one of like the
No.
hardest decisions. It's really been a tough decision for me to make.
No, and I
Um,
appreciate you for that. And I'm so appreciative that you even allowed yourself to open up and talk about it, because it's hard. And I feel like there's not always that ability for us to be able to talk about it openly, where we're not judged, we feel welcome, we feel proud of ourselves, we feel that we overcome something, we have a new sense of self and new strength, because this this path is sometimes very lonely, and it's hurtful. And I remember days crying just like you, and it's like, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I just get better? Why am I
yeah.
dealing with this? And
Yeah.
when am I going to see the green light of this?
Yeah.
And that's why I had to say right off the bat, I'm proud of you, because it's a hard decision. It's so, so hard. And the fact that you made that decision for your health and your betterment, it's tough. It takes a whole lot of strength, and we don't give ourselves that credit sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not something that like I look back every day and I'm like, oh, I'm glad my skin's
Yeah.
better, my health is better, but I'm still like, could I maybe have done this a bit sooner? you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I think I would really like to emphasize that, this journey is yours. You have to do what makes sense for you. What is the
Mm-hmm.
best for your quality of life? I decided not to get on medicine or any other type of medication because it was truthfully very important for me not to be dependent on anything. I really just wanted to get my health balanced, and
Mm-hmm.
that was really important, but it definitely stripped me of a lot of my old life and my old
Yeah.
self, like you were saying. And there are still days where I'm just trying to pick up the pieces. Now we have a new life and we have new passions and we have a new purpose. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's not always easy, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's so true that we don't realize what we're sacrificing, And I think that's what I want people to always understand, is that when you are choosing the steroids, eventually you're going to have to choose something else later on.
Something else.
And
Yeah.
that's where it's like, dang it, man. Like you said, should I have done this sooner? Should I have
Yeah.
changed this a little bit
A
earlier?
little
And
earlier.
even
Yeah.
for myself, and I'll even explain, like, I just had an eczema blow up right now, and that was more so because of stress, and I gave
Of
myself
stress.
histamine intolerance. And I was like, what the heck is histamine? Never heard this before. Because I was just like, the symptoms that I'm feeling are not from anything else that I've ever experienced before. I know I was going through a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of mental, kind of concerns, because of being an entrepreneur. There's so much different things that you're thinking about versus you're just being an employee. Nothing wrong with that, but when you're kind of in charge of your own income and your life and your schedule and everything like that, it comes with a whole different stress level. So when I started realizing I was giving myself histamine from certain foods I was eating, and then the stress on top of it, I was like, what the frig is this now? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Like, I thought I was done with eczema issues. Now I have a whole different set of eczema
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized talking to other physicians, that you're not really getting rid of eczema. You're more so managing it on different levels of your life.
Levels.
So
Yes.
now, me approaching my 40s, I was just like, pardon? I thought I was done. What do you mean? What do you mean? I have eczema. I thought I was good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and now it's at a
Yeah.
different way, and that's why now I really decided to dive in deep to figure, okay, what's the
To
other
figure it
things
out.
that can cause eczema versus the
Yeah.
steroids? And it's
Yeah.
histamine
It's
intolerant.
histamine. Yes.
Yeah.
And then your natural histamine levels rise around
Yeah.
your cycle.
Yeah.
So that's also I was having a lot of hormonal flares.
Yes.
So I'm like, what is this? And that's how I figured out that I was having histamine intolerance.
Yes.
So that's like another, I always say you have to approach your eczema different in different spaces of your life.
Absolutely. Yes.
You know, when I was a child and I was in adolescence, this care and this treatment worked for me because it was
Mm-hmm.
needed, you
Yes.
know? And then when I got in my 20s and my early 30s, I started going through topical steroid withdrawal. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, TSW wouldn't exist if I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have eczema. So I, although they're
Yes.
two different conditions,
Yeah.
I getting to the root of how can I, you know, better TSW was also
Mm-hmm.
getting to the root of I need to really take care of my eczema symptoms.
Yes.
And now I, you know, like I'm 34, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, wow, I really have to maintain my stress levels. I
Yeah.
really have to eat like this every day. Like I can't just
Yes.
go out and grab a pizza if I wanted to,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know?
And that's depressing in itself. You know, because you're just like, oh,
Yeah,
that looks
it's
so
you.
good.
Like, oh, sorry, I can't.
Yeah. And
Uh,
what you're saying is true. It's like you have to look at eczema in different stages of your life,
yeah,
different,
yeah,
windows, different seasons and so forth.
yeah,
And that season for me was the fact that, Makisha, you need to address your stress levels, and you need to address certain foods that are having histamine intolerance to you, because you never had to deal with it before. But now that you're changing your body and you're going into your
yeah,
40s, oh, guess
yeah.
what? You can't eat those now. So
That, yeah,
it's so true that people have to realize that, yeah, you're sacrificing things, but you're gonna end up changing again and
again.
changing again and
And that's
changing again.
also hard. I feel like the
Mm,
chronic of it, you know, oh, I went a year or 6 months and I had great skin. And now
yeah.
I wake up and I feel like I'm back to square zero. Like that is mentally disturbing. That is
Yes.
hard for you think, oh, I'm having such good skin. Oh, I'm good. I'm cured. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm healed. And then let's move on. That is a tough one, you know, and I
Yes.
always say it's only temporary, you know, it's not going to
Hmm.
last forever, but this is a condition that tends to come
Yes.
and go, and it changes and it cycles. And, you know, just having that maybe like in the back of your head, because it's very hard to move on when you
Hmm.
think that like you're like, oh, I'm good, like I'm good with
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
then you wake up and you're like,
I ain't good.
it's traumatizing.
Yeah.
It's
I
traumatizing.
I realized, when I did some research again, it's considered to be PTSD for the skin.
Yes. Yeah.
And people don't realize that even though you're healing and you're getting to a point where you're like, okay, I see the light, I see it, but you're still dealing with like the skin PTSD. Like all of a sudden you're scratching, you don't need to scratch there anymore. You're
Yeah.
scratching over here and you never used to scratch there. Or it's
Yeah.
just like your skin still has these symptoms that it was dealing with before when you were healing. And it's like, it is traumatizing. Like you don't
It
realize
is.
that
It is.
you've went through just as hard as someone else has gone through something that's very traumatic in their life. But for
Mm-hmm.
you, it's your skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I started therapy and I was talking to my therapist, and she also mentioned um, that I do this thing like fortune telling, and
Mm.
I'll say, you know what, it's not gonna, I think the worst almost. And she kind of like rewind that back to,
Yes.
you have been living in a condition, especially during TSW, where you don't allow yourself to, you know, think that something's going to be good, because at any moment it can
Hmm.
be taken away.
Yeah.
So you kind of like are on this line of like, okay, you know what? If it happens, it happens. If not, it's okay. Like this
Yes.
whole, like, I don't want to get my hopes up,
Yes.
because I'm scared, or I have a fear that something could go wrong, or that my
Yeah.
skin could get worse again, or that I could wake up and be in a full TSW flare.
Yeah.
It is really, sometimes it affects your mental in that state. And bringing on a therapist was also very important for me.
Hmm.
And I'm finally able to afford it. Um, but it's been extremely helpful for my mental health.
Yeah,
And
because
I think going through TSW and eczema, I think it's very important to have some type of mental help.
yeah, I agree with that because I feel we are rewiring our brain. It was wired in such a way that everything was fine. Then we go through that trauma, and then all of a sudden we rewired our brain to think that everything is bad.
It's
And
bad.
then once we're healing now we have to rewire our brain to say, no, everything is okay now. We're okay. We know how to manage it. We know what that flare up might be. We've been taking accountability. We've been logging. Like, we are a damn accountant for our skin now, okay? Like, what the flip?
Accountant, dermatologist, PA,
Yeah.
nurse practitioner, dietitian,
Yeah.
nutritionist.
We're everything and then some. No one can tell us anything now. We're just like, yeah, shut up. I already know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I
Okay,
already
like,
know.
stop it. Like, just stop it. Okay. So, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, oh my gosh, Chiquanna, thank you so much for really giving us some of that
right.
light of what you've been dealing with. But I really want to talk about this venture that you're on now and what you're doing right now with your life in terms of how you're advocating for eczema. Please share with us what it is that you're doing, because I also looked into Flaunt Your Flares, and I really
Yes.
want to know more about this because I was so excited. I was like, I'm sorry, I've only known about one event, and that's called the Eczema Expo. Okay, I have not
Yeah.
heard of other events that have to do with eczema, and the fact that you have
Yeah.
one, I need to hear more about this,
Oh my
please.
God, thank you so much. Last year was our first Flaunt Your Flair event, which I created out of obviously my journey and my passion
Yeah.
about spreading this awareness, and also building community, and kind of holding hands
Mm-hmm.
together.
Yes.
Because if I didn't have a community, if I didn't meet people like you, and if I didn't have community in these last 6 years, I really don't think that I would be able to get through this. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we need more spaces like Eczema Expo. I think we need more
Yes.
options to meet in person and have safe spaces where I remember I went to my first expo, and everyone was scratching, and everyone's just sitting like in an auditorium like this. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, this is like, I'm at home.
These are my people. Let's
Like this
scratch
is my
together.
people, and I feel that, as an advocate, as a person who's just been through so much with my skin, and I work in events. I love production. I was a
Mm-hmm.
dancer. I'm always doing something cool. It's just I'm aligning all my passions, my purpose, my story. I'm
Mm-hmm.
aligning it together in one. And Flaunt Your Flair is a passion project of mine. It's also something that I just feel like, for the longest I thought I could not do, and I proved to myself that I could. And you can, and we all can. Like, we
Yes.
are not, our skin does not control us. Our skin does not define us. We can take this, we can take our story, we can take the pain and turn it into our superpower, and turn
Mm-hmm.
it into something more than just a bit of suffering. Yeah, I
Yes.
suffered, but like, I'm going to come out of this. And that's what Flaunt Your Flair is. And, um, it's also a representation of standing tall in your skin, regardless of your flares, regardless of your textures. I
Mhm.
love to feel confident. I love to feel good. I love to
Yes.
take photos. I love the feminine side of
Mhm.
myself. And going through TSW, I kind of lost a bit of that. And
Yes.
I'm trying to work my way back to how do I stand confident? Yeah, I have
Mhm.
scars, I have discoloration, I
Mhm.
have flares, but I'm a woman and I want to
Yeah.
feel good in my skin no matter what. And that
Yeah.
is what Flaunt Your Flare is for. It's coming together. Last year we had a beautiful panel, all women, all put on by Black and Brown women, Flaunt Your
Awesome.
Flare. And it's just an annual event that's going to happen every October, and I'm super, super excited for it to grow and for more people to just feel a sense of safety and community,
Yes.
education, and knowledge about what is eczema, what is TSW. My sister's gone through this, my mom, my brother.
Yeah.
You have no clue how many people deal with symptoms and feel like they have no one to talk to or nowhere to go. And so this is just another pillar
Mhm.
of opening the room, opening the conversation for people to come and feel safe and feel accepted.
Thank you for that, because
Yeah.
it is so true. There's never been a place where I've seen a seminar happening for eczema
Yeah.
or an event happening for eczema.
Yeah.
Even in Canada, I have never seen it. It's only recently where we're starting to see a few things popping up
Pop,
now,
pop, pop.
but it's
Yeah.
just like it's still very scarce to see that compared to all of these other events that we have for women and for
Yeah.
this and for that and for business and
Yeah.
whatever. But for eczema, even though the whole world is suffering from it, but there's not one person that has an event for it. So it's
Yeah.
great that you're doing that, because I think it's so needed, and we do need community. I feel people, we
We
need
do.
something,
We
a
do.
hub where people can,
Where people
connect.
can relate and even seeing someone with your same texture, your same
Mhm.
skin with
Yeah.
a flare is so important. And I didn't see that until I was 30.
Yes.
I know a lot of us, especially Black women, did not have anyone to go to, did not see
Yeah.
textured eczema skin. It's not in, a lot of the doctors don't learn about melanated
Yes.
skin and how it shows
Mhm.
up on our skin. So this is Flaunt Your Flare is just a space where we can fill in the gap.
Yes, yeah, and give people the resources and the understanding, the
Yes.
knowledge that they need in terms of helping their skin. Because we can research so much, but when we
Yeah.
get together, I guarantee you, five of us know something different that could help
Something
each other.
different. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm really excited about it.
Um,
I'm so happy because when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, there's an event for eczema. What? I have
yes.
not seen this except for just the Eczema Expo. And again, even in that, it's very different. It's very much
Yeah.
catered to everyone, but this
Everyone.
being
Yeah.
more towards, melanated skin is great. I'm so happy about that.
Thank you. It's going to happen in October.
Yes.
October is Eczema Awareness Month.
Yes.
And you can follow me. I'm still starting the planning process and getting everything together, but you can definitely continue to follow me for updates on Flaunt Your Flare. It will be in October of this year. I'm super excited about it as well.
No, I'm excited. I'm going to put a lot of the information in the show notes so everyone
Thank
will
you.
know. Now, my closing tradition, I always have a question that I always want to ask everybody. And, we've been talking about it quite a bit already, but I think now, with where you are in your point right now, what does self care mean to you?
That's such a good question.
It stumps everybody.
Because I can tell you what I do for self-care,
That's the
right?
second question.
But
But what
okay.
is self care? That's what I want to know.
What self-care means to me is really um prioritizing myself
Hmm.
and and I think I read somewhere the other day is I don't do a lot of things in my life that I don't want to do, and I love that.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that is self-care to me. I
Hmm.
am in a position where I'm not doing a lot of things that I don't want to do. If I don't feel to do it, I'm not going to do it. If I, like I said earlier, stress is a huge trigger for me and my
Yes.
skin. I
Hmm.
can't be in a place, a space around people, a work environment, anything that's going to stress me out.
Hmm.
And I know the language, I know what I need to do. I have my own protocols to advocate and speak up for myself. And I think with living with eczema, you have to understand that no matter where you are, the people around you, the people in your
Hmm.
workplace, in whatever environment you're in, it's okay and it's safe to say, hey, I'm flaring right now. I
Yes.
need a moment. I need my ice pack. I need a
Yeah.
break. I need some fresh air.
Yeah.
Let me call you back. I'm having an itch attack.
Yes.
Self care to me is
Yeah.
really if I can't do it, it's a no. I can't do it right now. I don't feel good. You
I'm
know?
so in love with that answer. I'm so in
Yeah.
love with that because I feel
Yeah.
that's what I had to learn for myself too. And I think that's what's triggered my eczema breakout in October last year. I kept saying yes to everybody. I
Yeah.
kept saying
You
yes to
can't.
every single person and
You
everything that
can't.
they needed and every demand and this supplier and that retailer and this person. Like I was just saying yes to everything. And then there was a point in time, like again, you blow up. You're stressed out so far
Mhm.
beyond your capacity and you're just like, I don't know what to do. And you just kind of
Yeah.
shrivel in your own
Yeah.
world. So
Yeah. And
I
I've been in that
appreciate that.
position so many times that now I'm like, okay,
You're like, no.
no more. No more.
Like you're so proud to say the two words. You're like, oh my god, I can't wait to say it. No,
No.
no, thanks,
It's a no.
thanks.
It's a no. Yeah.
And that's why
Yeah.
when I talk to people, I'm like, you let me know what time is good for you. You let
Yeah.
me know what's okay with you because
Yeah.
I learned now that it's a give and take, and the right time is always the right time. You know,
Yeah.
like that's what I love now.
Yeah.
It's like the right time is the right time. It's
It's the right
divine
time.
time. So if
Yeah.
I say no today, there's a reason. So let's just
Hmm.
like let it out.
Let's
Let's let
just,
it out.
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, the number second question is what do you do for your self care? I heard a few things, but now let's tell us
Oh,
what it is
yeah.
that you do. Yeah.
I love being outdoors. I think that being outside and in nature is, and I say this because this year it's something that I've been doing a lot more,
Yeah.
and it's something that I've been giving myself grace to do because
Yes.
I feel like I've been in a mindset of like, oh, I'm not where I want to be. I need to
Hmm.
work. I need to figure
Yeah.
this out. I need X amount of this. I need this. And I live in Florida, so
Hmm.
the beach is like 5 minutes from my house. And
Yeah.
this year, I've been to the beach already like 4 times.
That's
And
so
I've lived
good.
here for a very long time. And that's the first time I can say that. And it's
Hmm.
because now I'm giving myself the permission. I'm
Yes.
giving myself the permission. I don't care what it is I have to do. Being outside is so important to me. So,
Hmm.
walking, making sure I'm in nature, going to the beach, really taking advantage of living
Yes.
in living
I
in
was
a
gonna
place
say
like
that.
this.
I'm like, I'd be
You
living in that
know?
beach. I'd be like, I'm just gonna live here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just gonna camp out and get that salt water.
Yeah. Yeah. And but I also have to give myself grace because there have been days where my skin couldn't take it.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I couldn't take the salt water. So, and I'm just a huge advocate on breathing. I don't
Hmm.
care what that means to you, but breathing is something that we all do every day. It is so important. It is so important for our nervous system. I
Yes.
feel like just having breath, having meditation, having calmness. I'm really big on calming the central nervous system. That has really
Yes.
been something that helps me a lot with managing my eczema symptoms. So, anything that promotes calmness, relaxation, and
Hmm.
wellness, sign me up because
Yeah.
I basically have to be like a very delicate flower.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so true.
I
It's so
have to
true.
live a healthy life. And I say all the time, I don't
Hmm.
feel like being the healthiest version of myself every day. And that is okay. That's okay.
Hmm.
I'm human. I'm not perfect. But because I live in this condition, because I have eczema, because I've gone through TSW, there are some
Hmm.
things that I have to do
Yes.
to really, help have a bit more defining moments in managing my eczema. And that's working out, exercising, being in nature, doing yoga and meditating,
Yes.
journaling. and
Mm-hmm.
really taking care of myself.
Yes. Oh, I love all of it. Everything that you said, I literally live by it, and I
Yeah.
absolutely realize that it's so important. And
It's
when
so
people,
important.
yeah, and when people don't have that ritual, I realize that it's uncontrollable for them. Their eczema is
Yeah.
uncontrollable, and it's because
Yeah.
again they're not choosing to
Yeah.
sacrifice the things that are not good for them to do the things that are good for them.
That I'm good for them.
And what you're saying is true. Like breathing and that central nervous system throws everything off. It throws your
Yeah.
gut off. It throws your skin off. It throws your hair off. It throws your face.
Yes.
Like
Everything
everything
off.
off. So
Yeah.
that breath work and the meditation is important. And I think now meditation is getting a better rep for itself now, a
Yeah.
better overall thought process about it, because I
Yeah.
feel like before it was like, oh my God, you meditate? Oh, really? And
Yeah,
you're
and
just
for
like, no, I
me, it's
breathe.
not like yeah, I'm not sitting somewhere meditating for hours,
Right.
It, this is for me is if I'm walking and then I'm just conscious of my breathing, or if
That's
I wake
meditating.
up and
Yeah.
I just take a few extra seconds to just take a few deep breaths, or if
Hmm.
I'm in the shower and I put on some meditation music for like 5 minutes.
Yes.
This is not something that's taking a huge chunk of my time or out of my
Yes.
day, but it is something that I had to incorporate every single day, like these
Yes.
small little things. And it is something that I had to work up to and I
Hmm.
had to build up to, because I wasn't doing this every day.
Yes.
Sometimes I was reluctant. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like being the healthiest version of myself
Yes.
today. I've had those moments. I've had those days where I'm like, I'm not doing it. I
Yes.
don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I want to rot. Or, it's, you're playing this game with yourself. So,
Yes.
but I can say this year I have been very, very, just proactive about
Yeah.
changing a lot of my own my own mindset and my
Hmm.
own actions,
Yeah.
and really waking up every day and doing the things that I know that's going to optimize my health.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's hard, but I can really, really see not even a change in my skin, but a change in myself.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really excited about where I am. And also doing Flaunt Your Flair last year, it
Hmm.
was my first year doing it. I realized this is going to take a lot out of
Hmm.
and I need to build myself up. I need to
Yes.
strengthen my blocks a little bit to put on this vision that I have for Flaunt Your Flair. So,
Hmm.
again, we're constantly making these decisions and sacrifices to just kind of live and manage in this
Yeah.
better than I was before.
And being more consciously aware, right? You're
Yeah.
being more conscious about what everything does in terms of its result. Like, what's the
Yeah.
result after that? If I do this, what's going to end up happening with it? And yeah, and when you are doing events and you're doing things that are on a larger scale, it's not like before where we just like figure it out at the last second. You're building
Yeah.
up to it. You're building
Oh,
up this
yeah.
marathon
Yeah.
for it. So it's
Yeah.
great. It's so great, and I'm so 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 happy that you came on today and
Of
shared your
course.
story. I feel like we didn't even go that deep, and this is about skin deep, and I feel like we could have went even deeper in there.
Yeah.
And it's just I'm just so happy that you did share so much and you were vulnerable with us, because it relates to people, and people will see it and be like, yeah, that's me, that's what I'm going through, I've done the same thing. Okay, you're doing this, let me now try and add
Yeah.
that into my life, because they need that inspiration, and they need that person to show them it's okay. There is another side of this after.
There's
There is
another
another.
side. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there is definitely another side. Something that's helped me is it's only temporary.
Yeah.
It really is. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have a cure for eczema. We don't have a cure for TSW,
Yes.
but it is only temporary. You will
Mm-hmm.
get better. There will be good days, there will be bad days, but you
Mm-hmm.
will get better. And
Yeah.
I think that has, like, locking into that hope has also helped me a lot.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. And you gave me a lot of inspiration today, love. I'm so
Thank
excited. I would
you.
love to have you back on the
I
podcast
would love
again.
to. Thank you so much for your platform and your advocacy and
Thanks.
reaching out and having me here. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much, Chiquanna.
Um,
Thank you so much. And
awesome.
everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Skin Deep podcast. Again, it's sponsored by Everbella, where we empower you to make self-care rituals to help you with your skin, especially eczema and dermatitis. I will see you in the next episode. Thanks. Thanks for tuning in to the Skin Deep podcast. Don't forget to download your free guide to our 10 hacks to great skin. Just check the link in our bio. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Have an amazing day, everyone, and enjoy your self-care Sunday.